I'm in Thessaloniki, the site of the Roman Forum of the ancient city of Thessalonica. This is a city that Paul came to as part of his Aegean mission. Paul left Philippi under difficult circumstances. He came here, and as was his custom, he went into the synagogue, was preaching that Jesus is the Messiah from the Jewish scriptures, and he made a few converts, a few God-fearers, a few prominent women. They all came to faith. But then Paul seems to have grieved or agitated some of the local synagogue leaders, and he was quickly sent away. But his Jewish opponents in Thessalonica also stirred up a bit of a local mob to go attack him and his followers. They dragged Jason out of his house, and they accused Jason, and this is quite remarkable. They said, Jason has brought people into his house and shown them hospitality, people who are turning the world upside down, who are defying Caesar's decree because they say there is a king other than Caesar. Now, this is a remarkable incident, because what is the decree of Caesar? What's the decree? Now, this decree could be something like an oath of loyalty that the local people in Thessalonica had to make to the emperor. It could be a prohibition on using sorcery or divination to speculate about who the next king or the next emperor of the empire will be. It could be something along those lines. But it's very clear that claiming that Jesus is king and allegiance or loyalty to the Roman emperor are regarded as mutual exclusive options. Now, look, on the one hand, if you go across Luke Acts, the depiction of the Roman Empire and Roman officials is mixed. It's not uniformly good or bad. You get some very positive accounts of Roman officials like Sergius Paulus. You got the centurion Cornelius and a few other figures whom Paul has a positive relationship with in his own travels. But then you get some Roman officials who are regarded as corrupt, who are regarded as being indifferent to injustice. And I think Luke is saying, look, Christians are not a threat to the Roman Empire. We could live happily within it, but there is still a sense in which the church, with its acclamation of Jesus as Lord, is in many ways still an alternative and a counterpoint to the Roman Empire. And I think there is a implicit anti-imperial message that's embedded within the gospel. Okay, not completely, not uniformly. People weren't going around the Roman Empire, Paul and Barnabas, hashtag down with Caesar, up with Jesus. But there is definitely a sharp juxtaposition between loyalty to Christ and loyalty to Caesar. While Christians can be good and faithful subjects of the empire, their loyalty can only go so far, and it can't go to the part of complete fealty, nor to the point of idolatry. The other interesting thing is that this is a place where Paul wrote a number of letters to, including 1 Thessalonians. That's an interesting message, because Paul sums up his preaching in Thessalonica as he urged the Thessalonians to turn to God from idols, to serve the living and true God, and to wait for his son Jesus, whom he raised from the dead, Jesus who saves us from the coming wrath. That's probably a good summary of Paul's preaching to Gentiles in a city like Thessalonica. And if you look at the rest of 1 Thessalonians, it really deals with the topics of ethics and eschatology. How are they to live in a pagan city? And the answer is they're to, imitate Christ, that are following the teachings that they've been given, avoid all sorts of idolatry and immorality. But he also wants to alleviate some of their fears that they may miss out on the second coming. And Paul assures them that even if Christ returns, the dead in Christ will not miss out. 2 Thessalonians is probably written some months later, I guess. I mean, there's disputes about its authenticity, but I think it is written by Paul. And Paul's got to tackle the opposite problem, not assuaging them of their concerns, but trying to get them to tone it down a bit when they're getting a little bit too excited about the prospect of Jesus' coming, to the point that it practically paralyzes their life and the way they're living. But he says certain things have to happen first, like the revelation of the man of lawlessness. So yeah, Paul's time in Thessalonica was very significant. 1 and 2 Thessalonians are important letters, and yeah, Paul's acclamation of Jesus as Lord and King certainly created a contrast. It put into sharp relief the faithfulness of Christians to their God and to their Lord, and the loyalty that was demanded of subjects of the empire in places like here in Thessalonica.